Hey everyone, so this video is just going to be on the war pool that I got in the previous war, and I'll just be going over the 4 toons that are currently in the war wheel. And before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. So the first toon that we're going to go over is Alice. And to start off, Alice is a leader toon. She has a great lead skill. All alert and strong teammates get plus 40% attack and a huge bonus to AP when attacking. This makes her a true leader toon because of the attack and the AP bonus. Next, Alice has a 76 AP rush, which is considered normal. Her rush gives all teammates plus 75% attack for 3 turns and focus for 2 turns. It also allows for recovering from impair, and it can revive one teammate with 50% of their max HP. I find the active skill to be less useful, healing, and a small AP gain. So overall, I really like Alice, both as a leader toon and as a support toon, because even if you don't use her as a leadership toon, you can run her behind Priya and command her on the second turn in order to give everyone a plus 75% attack bonus as well as focus. It also lets you revive a toon in case they died on the first or second turn. Having a toon on offense that can revive other teammates is more useful now than ever before, in my opinion. With all these toons that do multiple attacks on their rush, which are considered basic attacks, it is very common for a toon that does multiple attacks to be killed by reflect damage. A toon like Alice can double as a leadership toon, a reviver, as well as an attack buff, making her an all-round solid choice for a toon in the wheel and a toon on your team. Alice has a pretty useful weapon, which has 30% HP, a medium bonus to AP when taking damage, and impair. When she attacks, she's able to impair the enemy for 3 turns, making this a special bound weapon because you can't craft impair on a red toon. The HP is something that I'm going to leave, because Alice is not a heavy attacking toon as much as a supporter and leader toon. Just by increasing her HP and adding a huge bonus to AP on attack, she would be even more effective on an offensive team. Next we move on to Dale, who is one of my favorite toons. By being a command toon, he's able to give another toon another attack that same turn. He also has a great rush at 66 AP that does a small amount of maim damage, which can also break guardian shields, as well as apply minus 60% defense for 3 turns to all enemies. This makes him to be a really effective support toon by being a commander, as well as being able to double down as a defensive debuff toon with his minus 60% defense to all enemies. Dale's active skill is also really effective by being able to apply 100% heal reduction to all enemies as well as focus to all teammates for 3 turns. With his focus ability allowing your teammates to attack behind a human shield, ignore confuse, and taunt, it's a super useful active skill, along with the 100% heal reduction, which is like a miniature decap. So if a toon dies while under the influence of 100% heal reduction, for as long as that effect is in play, the toon cannot be revived. It also prevents basic healing, which can be really helpful when attacking toons with high HP and strong healers. Dale comes with his own bound weapon that's similar to Alice. Instead of 30% HP, he has 30% defense, a medium bonus to AP when taking damage, and impair when being attacked. I would personally recommend just increasing his defense and adding a huge bonus to AP when attacking. Dale is a toon that can be used on offense or defense. Moving on to Raven, she is a primarily defensive toon, but I've seen her work on offensive teams when doing an auto attack, only because her active skill is so effective at preventing the enemy from gaining AP. Raven's specialist skill helps her survive. The increased defense that she gets whenever she takes damage helps her decrease the amount of damage that she takes in consecutive attacks. Next, her rush is only 76 AP, which is normal. She deals 650% damage to a line of enemies. Those enemies also become impaired, allowing her to apply some control, and the minus 20 AP also prevents the enemy from being able to rush right away, even if they can recover from the impair. 2 teammates are also able to regain 60% of their max HP. She has a nice, all-encompassing rush, which applies damage, control, and heals her own teammates. But I would say the best part of Raven has to come down to her active skill, which is a turn 1 active skill. Her active skill gives all other teammates elusive for 2 turns, and she gains plus 35% AP. Now, the important part is the elusive. When a toon is under the influence of elusive, if another character attacks it, they will not be able to gain any AP. This forces the opponent to then either target Raven or use unnatural AP gain in order to be able to rush. But with Angel having exhaust and Leopo also having exhaust, using unnatural ways to gain AP can also be a huge problem to you on attack. It could cause you to actually end up killing your own team by trying to rush and kill the defensive team. Lastly, what brings Raven together is her weapon. So it has 30% defense, plus 15% HP, and a special, when being attacked, a 50% chance for the enemy to get minus 40 AP. So if you put a disarm resist on Raven, a high one at that, there's a good chance that the opponent will be unable to disarm Raven in order to gain AP. Instead, they're more likely to get minus 40 AP and be even farther from rushing than they were to begin with. Moving on to the final character in the wheel is Yellow Alpha. Now, a lot of people have said that this alpha is probably the worst toon on the wheel. And in some cases, I would say people are right, but in other cases, I think I could find a use for this Yellow Alpha. So firstly, her specialist skill, Evasion. So the more AP that she has, the less damage that she'll actually take from an attack or a rush, which is pretty useful. It means she'll take less damage over time. Now, her rush is 85 AP, which is quite slow in my opinion. She deals 725% damage to one enemy, and then up to 2 other teammates can gain 100% AP. Now, with how we understand AP manipulation, this could be really useful depending on what other toons you run on defense. And I say defense because that would be the easiest place to run her. I don't think I could find her a place on my attack team based on the caliber that I play at and kind of how many turns I want to finish my attack in. Now when we go to her active skill, when Alpha first came out, a lot of people hated her active skill because they thought, why would you apply minus 85 AP to your teammates as well as the enemy? And it's basically just a stall out technique. If you end up rushing your toons before using this active skill, then it's kind of like everyone's on a clean slate again anyway. It's also a good method of encouraging the enemy to use unnatural AP gain, because by taking away their AP, they're forced to either use basic attacks, which give a maximum of 40 AP per turn based on a base 20 AP, a huge leader, and then a huge on weapon. It's just one method on Alpha where you force the opponent to take more attacks and more turns in order to beat you. And then on the flip side, if they end up killing Alpha before turn 3 when she uses that active skill, her weapon has a special on it. When killed, minus 85 AP to all enemies. This weapon cannot be disarmed. At least I've never seen it disarmed before. It seems to be a constant. So it's almost like a trap toon. Against those Arav teams, if Arav uses his rush and kills Alpha, all of a sudden he's at 0 AP and he's unable to rush again. So those are just a couple ideas that I had with Alpha, because her whole game is about playing with AP, and by taking it away from the opponent, you're making the match stretch longer and longer, which in all honesty is the goal, because it's very unlikely that you're going to be able to kill the opponent's team unless you have some sort of trick team, or you have S-Class Prias with Rampage, and so on. Finally, during war, I was able to get a single pull. I was pretty excited because I only have Dale on this war wheel, and I could really use any of the other 3 toons. So when I pulled, I ended up getting Alice, and I was super excited. Not only did I get Alice, a great toon, I got her as a 6-star, which means less leveling, less food, less fodder, and less time. So far, I haven't been able to level her much. I haven't worked on her rush or her active skill, but I've made a few mock teams to play around with. So the basics of it include a damage dealer, attack up, defense down, commander, as well as a control toon. This last team that I made is a little more aggressive because I don't have a control toon as much. Instead, I'm relying on Alice to revive them if they end up dying. So just keep in mind when I'm attacking that Alice has no trainers added to her, like nothing for her rush or her active skill. So when she rushes, she only gives plus 50% attack. So just imagine if she gave plus 75% attack. This team, I focused mainly on controlling the opponent before dealing high amounts of damage with James. The 100% heal reduction prevents them from being able to heal themselves, the minus 65% defense, and the plus 50% attack makes James super effective when attacking the enemy. A lot of it does rely on James, which makes it a little difficult to control, but it is a solid team overall, I think, especially because Alice can bring him back in case he dies. What I like about this team is that it gives me enough control as well as enough assurance by having an anchor toon in Alice, and the amount of damage that I can apply with James is high enough that I don't really have to worry about anyone dying on my team because she's able to bring them right back. This is just one team that I kind of wanted to showcase. I could also use her as support behind Priya, but until I have her leveled up, I don't really want to use her much, and I have more priorities in some S-class toons at the moment. So that's just a basic team build of how I would run Alice. Here's another example, but there are so many other types of teams you could run with Alice. She's really a multi-dimensional toon, in my opinion, that can fit in many different types of teams. Thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video.